Hello and welcome into Coast to Coast Sports. We're talking the NBA today. I'm Richard Geraffo along with Jordan Desouza and Matthew Andujo. Today, we're going to be going over a few things in the Western Conference that we think are going to happen in regards to every single team in the conference. We're going to be going over playoffs. We're going over projections. We're going over how we think teams are going to improve or maybe teams that are going to regress a little bit. All that and more on our first segment. We'll be right back on Coast to Coast Sports. Welcome back to Coast to Coast Sports. I'm Richard Geraffo, Jordan Desouza, and Matthew Andujo. First, I want to start it off with some predictions. These ones not too hard because these teams, they're locks to make the playoffs. Who do you have as a team that's going to be a lock? Jordan, I want to start with you.
I mean, is it even worth mentioning the Golden State Warriors? I mean, so they're a guaranteed lock, and then we're going to have two. We're going to have the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, you can round off 3 or 4. I mean,
yeah, you got the Rockets and OKC, pretty much the same. Rockets added Chris Paul, Thunder added Paul George. They're pretty much a lock.
Yeah, these are all 4 teams that we see. They've all gotten better internally, and they've also brought in guys in free agency that can help them greatly just make deeper playoff runs.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, these teams do seem like locks, but you never know. One bad ankle turn, one twist of the knee. Anything can happen with these teams, but if they're going to stay healthy, it's pretty much a lock. Yep. Now, I want to talk about a team that we've had a little bit of discussion about. The Minnesota Timberwolves had an awesome offseason. They picked up Jimmy Butler, Jeff Teague, Taj Gibson, Jamal Crawford. He's getting a little old. But, you know, he's still Jamal Crossover. He's still nice. They also drafted Justin Patton. I want to know, what do you guys think is the play for the Timberwolves? Are they going to make a drastic improvement, or are they just going to improve a little bit with their lack of three-point shooting? Jordan, start with you.
I mean, I think it's really going to come down to their bench depth when it comes to really winning games. I mean, they had a lot of games last year that they lost late in the third quarter that they gave up big leads, but now they're really improving their starting lineup. I mean, just put Karl Anthony Towns, who's going to run the league for a while, Andrew Wiggins, who's one of the best two-way players, young two-way players, and then just add Jimmy Butler to that. They have a great starting lineup, but what really scares me is their bench depth, and I don't know if that's going to be able to help them win games. But then again, with this team, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the 5 seed. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the 10 seed as well.
Yeah, I like their pickups. When your best player is 21 years old, averaging 25 and 12, and your second best player is 22 years old, averaging close to 24 points a game, you add one of the best two-way players in the game in Jimmy Butler, you're definitely going to improve. You add Jeff Teague, former All-Star, played with the Pacers last year. We'll give him an upgrade from Rubio. Even though Rubio's a great player, Jeff Teague just brings that offense that Rubio couldn't. So I feel like they're going to drastically improve. I think they're fighting for that fourth spot with the Thunder.
Wow. I think it's, look, like he said, they could be the 5, they could be the 4, they could be the 10, they could be the 11. We'll never really know until the season gets going. One thing that I think with the T-Wolves, though, I think this is going to be a big year for Shabazz Muhammad. I really do. Yeah. I think he's very capable of scoring, not at will, but he is an above-average scorer in the NBA. And I think it's going to be a big year for him coming off the bench. He's going to have to give them 10, 12, maybe close to 15 points a game. Another big thing, like you were saying with Jeff Teague, when I was watching the playoffs last year, I was impressed. People forget how good of a passer Teague is, and he's got a mean inside game.
He's just steady,
yeah.
He's a good player, and I think it's going to be interesting.
He was really key on those Hawk teams, especially that team that got the #1 seed a couple years ago. He was an All-Star. He's proven. He's been in the playoffs. He knows what it takes. He's a veteran. They added a lot of veteran leadership this year.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our first segment. Next, we're going to be talking about teams that may improve, teams that may regress. We'll be right back on Coast to Coast Sports. Welcome back to Coast Sports. Today we're talking the NBA. Richard Geraffo, Jordan Desouza, and Matthew Andujo. Guys, for the second part of the show, I want to talk about the rest of the Western Conference, the teams that aren't a lock, the teams that might regress, the ones that might take a big jump. We already went over the Timberwolves, so we're not going to talk about them. But I want to get into the LA Clippers, the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks, the New Orleans Pelicans maybe, the Portland Trailblazers, the Memphis Grizzlies, and to top it off, I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are going to be awesome this year. But Jordan, I know you wanted to hit on the LA Clippers. What do you think of their season this year?
Definitely. This is going to be a very interesting season for the Clippers, definitely. It's not really like a rebuilding year. I mean, they lost Chris Paul. It's more of like a reloading year for them. I think they really want to see what they can get out of Blake Griffin, and I think it's really all dependent on his health. I think Blake is primed to have like an MVP caliber year just based off what their starting lineup is. I mean, if you look at it, they're going to have Milos Teodosic. I think we got it's definitely a tough pronunciation with that one. But then they lost, obviously, Chris Paul, J.J. Redick. So I think Blake Griffin's going to be the main offensive focus for them. And if he can stay healthy, they have guys. They got Lou Williams, Pat Beverly. I still think they can hover around that 50-win mark at best.
Yeah, definitely. I think Point Blank is going to be very fun to watch.
Definitely.
Matthew, I knew you wanted to hit on the Portland Trailblazers. What do you think they're going to do this year?
So the Trailblazers with one of the best backcourts in basketball. You have C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, obviously an all-star, keeps getting snubbed, but it happens.
It'll happen
the West is just packed.
Yeah, we'll get it done.
It's a unique time in NBA
I think they can improve this year. The maturity of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I still feel they're one star or one solid scorer off. We saw that in the first round against the Warriors. It was just Dame and CJ just scoring, but no one else can really score. They lost Crabbe. Even though they lost Crabbe, I feel they can win maybe 4 or 5 more games. They got Swanigan, they got Collins, they got some young depth. I feel like they're on the come up. They're just one star short.
Now, what do you have for predictions in the win-loss category?
I would say they're around 40, 45.
It's pretty good, but is that enough to make it in the playoffs, do you think?
It is not.
Not in the West.
Not in the West. Not this year.
Yeah, it's tough. As Suns fans know, a few years ago they won 49 games and didn't make the playoffs.
Especially, yeah. And I think when you're talking about playoff teams, you can make it in the playoffs or you can make it in the playoffs. Like you can make a 7 or 8 seed and just get there every year, or you can be one of those contenders. I could see the Trailblazers making the playoffs, but they're definitely far away from contending.
Yeah, well, a team that I think is going to make a big jump this year is the Denver Nuggets. I think the Nuggets had an excellent offseason. The addition of Paul Millsap was huge. I love that pickup. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He brings them the defensive presence that they haven't had. Quite frankly, their defense has been atrocious and their offense has been immaculate. I think Millsap is going to bring that Defensive Player of the Year swagger in. He's never won it, but he's been up there in the race for the last 4 or 5 years. I love Jokic. Can't talk enough about Jokic. The man is a mastermind with the ball. He really is. And you can't discount Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, both coming into their own. Murray's still very young, but he's a capable scorer and a pretty good playmaker given the chance. I think the Nuggets, they're going to surprise us. They're not going to hang around the 8, 7 seed. I think they could shoot up into the 6th or the 5th seed.
I think this is definitely going to be one of the more entertaining teams to watch, definitely. If you look at their roster, their 2 most skilled players are their power forward and their center. So this is going to be a very fun team to watch.
With the addition of Paul Millsap, you had a veteran who's an all-star to mentor those young players like Gary Harris and Jamal Murray. They can only get better from here, but losing Gallinari will definitely hurt. But the manimal, whatever you call him, he's destined to have a great year. Jamal Murray, I think he's going to have a breakout year. I think he'll average around 15 points this year, shooting up.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling around 50, maybe 52 wins for the Nuggets. I think it's going to be a wonderful year. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. We're coming right back after this with teams that we think definitely not going to make the playoffs, but looking to make the right stride in the right direction. We'll be right back on Coast to Coast Sports. Hello and welcome back to Coast to Coast Sports. I'm Richard Geraffo with Jordan Desouza and Matthew Andujo. We've already gone over teams that we think are going to make the playoffs and teams that might take a step back, but now I want to go over teams that are bottom feeders, like the Lakers, the Kings, and the Suns. I want to talk about the guys who are looking to make improvements on last year, but not necessarily are going to have a big impact in the playoffs. So, Matthew, I want to start with you. As far as the Los Angeles Lakers go, what do you think they're going to do this year? They've had an awesome offseason, but I want to see what you think about it.
I feel the Lakers are definitely going to be a fun team to watch. They're definitely young. They have Lonzo, Brandon Ingram. Bringing back Jordan Clarkson. They added Caldwell Pope and Brook Lopez. Julius Randle lost some weight. Looks like he's shooting the 3, some off-season workout videos. I feel the defense is still just going to be atrocious this year. They're ranked 28th in defense last year. This year it's probably be the same story. But they're definitely going to be fun on offense, getting out, running the ball. Lonzo's definitely going to be opening up the offense for Ingram, Clarkson, all those boys. So I'm predicting them to win around 30 to 38 games this year.
Okay, and I want to get a little feel for Brandon Ingram. I think this is going to be a big year for him. Do you think he makes that step and becomes the star that he has said himself he thinks he's going to be?
I believe so. He has all the tools. It looked like in Summer League he developed a jumper. He's playing with confidence. It's his team now. D'Angelo Russell's not there. Lonzo and him are definitely going to be a team to look out for.
Definitely one of the up-and-coming teams. Look, in a few years, could see the Lakers at the top of the conference again. Jordan, I want to talk about the Sacramento Kings with you a little bit. They also had a very interesting offseason. They added some nice veterans like Zach Randolph and Vince Carter, George Hill. Then they had an awesome draft where they got Harry Giles, they got Justin Jackson and George Hill. What do you think is the progress that the Kings are going to make this year?
Well, I think they've made a lot of progress, and I think they're going to focus on 2 main things, which I'm going to talk about. They're going to be focusing on building a culture around this Kings team, which the Kings team hasn't really had a lot of since like 2000s in those really fun Kings teams we watched. And they're going to be working on maximizing potential. So in terms of building a culture, they've got guys like Vince Carter and Zach Randolph that are going to be really good for mentoring those young guys. So if they can just kind of build a culture where everyone's going to be bought into defending, just running up and down the floor, I think those young guys are going to get to flourish. And if they can really just maximize the potential of those young guys, they're going to have a great team. Because a lot of those guys, like you mentioned, they do a lot of things that they do them very well. And if they can really maximize like those certain skill sets, they're going to be great players. I mean, Fox, his passing, his speed. Buddy Hield, if he can really just become a knockdown 3-point shooter. Willie Cauley-Stein, the shot blocking, Harry Giles, the shot blocker. Even Scal could score a little down low.
Oh, I was going to bring them up and ask.
So definitely, they just really got to do a great job of developing these young players and bringing them up together. And I think by the time that they reach their 24, 25, and they're still on the team together, I think this could be a playoff team.
Yeah, it definitely could be. But I do have a question. For the two of these teams, the Lakers and the Suns, they've had a wonderful rivalry in the mid-2000s with the Nash Suns and the Amari Suns versus Kobe and those Laker teams. A lot of heartbreak for Phoenix fans and everything. But I want to know, what do you guys think between the Kings and the Lakers? Who's going to be in a better spot in 3 years?
I believe the Lakers will be. The Lakers, Lonzo Ball, he's looking like an all-star. Brandon Ingram's looking like an all-star. They can only go up. I feel that the Lakers' two best players, Brandon Ingram and Lonzo, are better than all the players on the Kings right now that are young. So I feel the Lakers have the best upside.
I'm going to have to agree with what Matthew said. I think that the Lakers' young core has a higher ceiling than the Kings' young core at this point, and then also the fact that they are the Lakers and they are more liable to bring in big free agents will set them up better than the Kings. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings do overtake the Lakers in 3 years, but it's not really likely at this point. So definitely I'm going to have to go with the Lakers.
Yeah, definitely. One more team that I want to hit on before we go. I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns. I brought them up a minute ago. You know, they had a wonderful team. They never quite got to the top, but they got close a few times. You know, I want to talk about the Suns. I want to talk about the young guys. They've got Eric Bledsoe. He's not necessarily young anymore, but, you know, I think he's still a very good player. They've got Devin Booker, an incredible scorer, a guy who's just going to do good things this year. They've got Josh Jackson, the incredible athlete. He can't shoot yet, but, you know, he's going to bring those other things, the intangibles, the defense, the rebounding. If he can develop a shot, we're looking at a superstar, quite frankly. So for the Suns, you know, they made some good moves over the offseason. I think they're going to have another fairly mediocre season. I think they're definitely a few years away from being a few years away. But the Suns, you know, good things in Phoenix are happening. I think it's going to take time, but they'll get there eventually. And that's about going to wrap it us here for the NBA show on Coast to Coast Sports. Once again, I'm Richard Geraffo with Jordan Desouza and Matthew Andujo. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be here again next week.
Irving for three. Puts it in. Kyrie Irving from way downtown.